At 67 years old, Richard thought he had done everything right. He worked for more than 4 decades, never missed a mortgage payment, raised 2 kids, and retired with what sounded like a respectable amount of savings. But 6 months into retirement, he found himself waking up at 3 a.m. staring at the ceiling, wondering the same question millions of retirees quietly ask themselves: how long will my money actually last? The strange thing about retirement is that too, people can have the exact same net worth and feel completely different about life. One sleeps peacefully, the other lives in constant anxiety. And according to recent retirement data and wealth studies in America, retirees tend to fall into 6 very different financial tiers. Each tier comes with its own lifestyle, fears, habits, and level of freedom. Today, we're breaking down all 6 levels of retirement wealth in America, what life actually looks like inside each one, and the hidden shift that allows ordinary people to feel wealthier without suddenly becoming millionaires. The first tier is what experts often call the survival zone. These are retirees with less than around $80,000 to $100,000 in total net worth outside of their home. For many in this category, Social Security is not just a piece of retirement income. It is the entire retirement plan. Monthly income usually lands somewhere between $1,500 and $2,000 per month, depending on work history and claiming age. Life here is extremely fragile financially. Every expense matters. Grocery prices matter. Gas prices matter. A single medical bill matters. If the water heater breaks or the car transmission fails, it can trigger a financial spiral that takes years to recover from. Many people in this tier worked physically demanding jobs their entire lives, but low wages, health setbacks, layoffs, or family emergencies prevented them from building large retirement savings. Some still carry debt into retirement, which makes everything harder. Credit card payments eat away at fixed income, and inflation feels brutal because there's no cushion. Vacations are rare, eating out becomes a luxury, and even though these retirees may own small homes or modest assets, they often feel trapped because most of their wealth isn't liquid. The emotional reality of this tier is constant financial vigilance. Every decision feels high stakes. The second tier is what we can call the stable but careful level. These retirees usually have a net worth somewhere between $100,000 and $500,000, often including home equity. On paper, this sounds comfortable to younger people, but retirement math changes how many feels. A $300,000 retirement portfolio will safely generate around $12,000 annually without risking depletion too quickly. Combined with Social Security, total monthly income often falls between $2,500 and $4,000. That's enough to survive with dignity in many parts of America, but it still requires discipline. These retirees can usually pay their bills without panic, but they remain highly sensitive to economic shocks. A bad stock market year creates stress. Rising healthcare costs create stress. Supporting adult children or helping grandchildren financially can quickly strain the budget. People in this tier tend to live modest but respectable lifestyles. They may own their homes outright or be close to paying them off. They may take occasional road trips, eat at restaurants once or twice a month, and enjoy hobbies that don't cost much. However, underneath the surface is a quiet fear of running out. Many retirees in this tier constantly monitor their account balances because they know one prolonged market downturn could change everything. The difference between comfort and anxiety often comes down to monthly cash flow. The third tier is where retirement starts to feel genuinely comfortable. These retirees usually hold between $500,000 and $1.5 million in net worth. Combined income from Social Security, retirement accounts, pensions, and investments can produce somewhere around $4,500 to $8,000 per month depending on withdrawal rates and lifestyle choices. This group represents what many Americans imagine as the ideal retirement. Bills are manageable, healthcare costs, while annoying, are affordable. Vacations happen regularly. Dinner with friends doesn't require checking the bank account first. Grandkids get birthday gifts without financial stress. But here's the surprising part. Even retirees in this tier often feel anxious. Why? Because retirement introduces a psychological challenge most people never experience during their working years. When you're employed, money coming in replaces money going out. In retirement, every market decline feels personal because you're actively depending on your investments to survive. If the market drops 20% during the first few years of retirement, fear increases dramatically. Financial experts call this sequence of returns risk, and it explains why many retirees with seven-figure portfolios still worrying constantly. They are comfortable, but they don't necessarily feel secure. The fourth tier is what we can describe as the financial freedom category. These retirees generally hold between $1.5 million and $5 million in assets. At this level, retirement shifts from careful planning to lifestyle design. Income streams may include large retirement portfolios, rental properties, dividend stocks, pensions, business ownership, or annuities. Monthly income can range from $8,000 to $20,000 or more. These retirees travel internationally, upgrade homes, help children buy houses, and donate generously to causes they care about. Healthcare costs become inconveniences instead of crises. They can absorb market volatility without changing daily life dramatically. But surprisingly, many wealthy retirees still struggle emotionally with money. The fear simply changes shape. Instead of worrying about paying bills, they worrying about preserving wealth. They worrying about taxes, inflation, estate planning, and whether their money will support future generations. Some become obsessed with maintaining a specific lifestyle. Others fear losing status. This is one of the strangest truths about wealth. Financial pressure doesn't disappear completely. It evolves. The fifth tier belongs to the affluent class. Retirees with between roughly $5 million and $20 million in net worth. This level changes retirement entirely because income no longer depends mainly on withdrawals from savings. Instead, assets themselves produce significant cash flow. Dividends arrive automatically. Rental income arrives monthly. Private investments distribute profits. Interest payments continue regardless of whether the retiree wakes up and checks the stock market. This is the point where wealth begins creating emotional peace instead of just financial capability. People in this tier often fly first class, own multiple homes, travel frequently, and support charities or family members without hesitation. They can write checks for major expenses without needing to rearrange their financial lives. Market crashes still matter, but they rarely threaten lifestyle. The key psychological difference here is huge. They don't feel forced to sell assets during downturns to survive. Their investments generate enough ongoing income to cover living expenses, and once that shift happens, retirement anxiety drops dramatically. Then there's the sixth tier, the ultra-wealthy. These are retirees with more than $20 million in assets, though many hold far more. At this level, retirement doesn't resemble traditional retirement anymore. Wealth becomes institutional. Money is managed through trusts, family offices, private equity, tax strategies, and long-term legacy planning. Income often comes from ownership stakes, businesses, commercial real estate, hedge funds, and sophisticated investments unavailable to ordinary investors. Lifestyle limitations effectively disappear. Private travel, luxury real estate, and exclusive experiences become normal. But interestingly, the focus at this level shifts away from consumption. Many ultra-wealthy retirees become more concerned with legacy than lifestyle. They think about philanthropy, inheritance, reputation, and protecting family wealth across generations. Ironically, some of the happiest retirees are not in this top tier at all, because beyond a certain point, more money creates complexity as much as comfort. Now here's the important realization most people miss. Moving up a retirement tier is not always about becoming dramatically richer. Sometimes it's about changing how your money works. To retirees with the exact same net worth can experience completely different levels of stress, depending on how their assets generate income. Imagine two retirees with $1 million each. The first keeps most of the money in growth, investments and sells shares monthly to pay bills. The second owns a mix of dividend funds, bonds, and cash-flowing investments that generate reliable income every month. Technically, both are equally wealthy. Emotionally, they live in different worlds. The first fears market crashes because withdrawals become dangerous during downturns. The second focuses less on market prices because income continues arriving. This is one of the biggest psychological upgrades in retirement, shifting from selling assets to collecting cash flow. That's why many financial planners increasingly emphasize income-based retirement strategies. Instead of pure accumulation, dividend-paying stocks and funds can generate regular income while still allowing long-term growth. Bond ladders create predictable streams of payments at scheduled dates. Rental properties, while requiring effort, can produce monthly cash flow that rises over time with inflation. Some retirees even act as lenders through secured mortgage notes, essentially becoming the bank and receiving fixed monthly payments backed by real estate. None of these strategies are magic. Every investment carries risk, but the broader principle matters deeply. Retirement becomes less stressful when income arrives consistently without requiring constant asset sales. Another overlooked factor separating retirement tiers is debt. To households earning identical retirement income can experience completely different realities, depending on monthly obligations. A retiree with a paid-off home and no debt often lives more comfortably on $4,000 per month than someone earning $7,000 while carrying mortgages, car payments, and credit card balances. This is why many financial advisors push aggressively for debt reduction before retirement. Eliminating mandatory payments increases flexibility and lowers financial anxiety. In retirement, cash flow matters more than appearances. There's also a major emotional difference between people who retire toward something versus people who retire away from work. Wealthier retirees often have stronger social networks, hobbies, routines, and a sense of purpose beyond employment. They travel, volunteer, mentor, invest, or pursue passions they postponed for decades. Meanwhile, some retirees with adequate finances still feel deeply unhappy because they underestimated how much identity and structure work provided. Retirement isn't only a financial transition, it's a psychological one, and the happiest retirees often build lives filled with meaning, movement, and relationships, not just money. One of the most fascinating findings in retirement research is that perceived financial security matters almost as much as actual wealth. Some retirees with modest savings feel deeply content because they live below their means, maintain strong communities, and avoid lifestyle inflation. Others with millions remain anxious because their spending expands alongside their wealth. Lifestyle inflation is dangerous because it silently raises the minimum amount needed to feel safe. The larger the lifestyle, the larger the fear of losing it. And perhaps the biggest lesson from all 6 tiers is this: retirement freedom is less about the size of your pile and more about the strength of your systems. Reliable income, low debt, controlled expenses, diversified assets, emotional discipline. Those factors determine whether retirement feels peaceful or terrifying. Many Americans assume they need tens of millions to feel financially secure. In reality, the biggest emotional jump often occurs much earlier, the moment passive income consistently covers essential expenses. That's the point where money stops feeling like a countdown clock. At the end of the day, retirement is not a competition. There will always be someone wealthier, someone with a bigger house, a larger portfolio, or more luxurious vacations. But true retirement success is simpler than most people realize. It means waking up without financial panic. It means paying bills comfortably. It means having enough time, freedom, and health to enjoy life with the people you love. And no matter which tier you're in today, understanding how these levels work gives you something incredibly valuable: clarity. Because once you understand the game, you can start making smarter decisions that move you toward a more peaceful future. If you enjoyed this breakdown, the next thing you need to understand is how retirement wealth changes by age. Because $1 million at 45 means something very different than $1 million at 75. Check out the next video where we break down average net worth by age in America and reveal where most people dramatically overestimate their financial progress.